Hello everybody, my name is Neil Harper Lee. Please don't call me Nelly, I don't fancy it at all. And I'm here today to clarify some rumors that has been said about my writing. As you may know, I wrote the book To Kill a Mockingbird. And some people think that my childhood friend, Truman Capote, helped me to write it. I'm here to say that it's absolutely false. I wrote it myself. And secondly, I would like to say that yes, my father was a lawyer and I lived in a small town in Alabama. And with Truman, we used to go to these trials to watch him. However, I didn't want to portray my reality, but the reality of the whole people at the time. And now you may ask, which time was it? You asked that? Yes, you do.
No.
Well, I wrote the book in the 50s, when the civil rights movement was at its peak. From my point of view, I wrote it as a way to show my support to the black community. However, it was first published in the 60s. But the book took place in the 30s, within 1933 to 1935, when the Great Depression took place in the USA. Industrial output declined and unemployment rose, causing that the rich people only got richer, meanwhile the poor only poorer. And in addition to this, I would like to say that racism was a big issue at the time. And to have slaves was a sign of power. And to finish and to mistreat them was as normal as breathing. Now I'm going to let you with my classmates who are going to tell you about this book that I wrote.
Okay, so To Kill a Mockingbird is the story about a little girl named Scout Finch and her brother Jim. They live with their father Atticus in their cook called California. She is a black woman, and they live in the city of Macon in Alabama. And the city, as the author mentioned before, is going through the Great Depression. But because Atticus is a prominent lawyer, he has the money or the means to survive, or at least survive a little bit better than the rest of the society. Okay, and one summer, Scout and Jem met another boy named Jill, and they soon become friends. They start to act out stories and they play outside the house every day. But then Jill becomes fascinated by the story about the Radley's place. The Radley's place is the house in which Boo Radley and his brother Nathan Bradley lives. And the town creates fascinating and mysterious spooky stories about the house. Then Jill leaves. He comes back to his city. And during that fall, Scout goes to school for the first time, and she hates it. She hates school. But then one day when they come back from school, they found a little present in the knothole of a tree outside the Radley's place. Again, summer arrives, and Jill also comes back to Macon. But this time they start to act out the stories about Boo. But Atticus, when he sees these stories, he puts a stop to their games because he says that they should consider seeing life from another's perspective before making judgments. And they get stop this game. Then, on the last night when Dill's last night in the city, they sneak around and they wanted to see through a window if they could see Boo Radley. But at that moment, Nathan Bradley comes out and he starts to shooting at them. And on the way they're trying to escape, Jem loses his pants, but when he comes back to pick them up, the pants were folded over the fence, which was weird. A little bit after kids were watching the fire, someone puts a blanket on Scout's shoulders, and she was sure that it was Boo Radley who did it. So she and Jem told Atticus about the blanket, the pants, and the little gifts that they found on the knuckle. Time after that, Maycomb is a racist town, and Atticus decides to defend a black man named Tom Robinson, who has been accused of raping a white woman named Mayella. And when the trial begins, Tom Robinson is sent to jail, but Atticus decides to stay outside of the jail in case something happens. And something did happen. A group of people arrives because they wanted to kill Tom Robinson, and just when everything was about to start the fight, Scout, Jem, and Deal appears, and they protected Atticus. How? Scout started to questioning one of the guys in the crowd, who was Mr. Cunningham, and she started questioning like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Cunningham, how are you? Can you say hi from me to his son, who was Scout's classmate?" So this questioning made him feel guilty, and then the mob disappeared. And at the trial
itself, the children were able to sneak into the courtroom, and they sat in the color balcony. From there, they could watch the whole trial, in which they could see how Atticus presented impressive evidence in order to demonstrate Tom Robinson's innocence. He stated that it was Mayella who propositioned Tom Robinson, and when the father of her discovered that, he beat her, and after that he accused Tom Robinson in order to cover his shame. Even though that was very clear, the all-white jury decided that Tom Robinson was guilty. After that, Tom Robinson was sentenced to death because of that, and was sent to jail. And in an attempt to escape from jail, he was shot to death, and he died, of course. And despite the verdict, Bob Ewell, who was the man who was accusing Tom Robinson, promised that he was going to revenge of the judge and Atticus, because according to him, they made a fool out of him during the trial. After that, he actually managed Robinson's widow. He tried to break into the judge's house, and he attacked Jem and Scout during a Halloween party. He would try to stop Scout, but he was stopped by Boo Radley, who stabbed him back to death. After that, Boo took the children to Atticus' house, and when Atticus knew about that, he called the sheriff, and he and the sheriff agreed that they would protect this truth in order to cover what Boo did, because he didn't do anything wrong. Actually, he made a favor for the town. When that episode happened, Scout realized about the lesson that her father tried to teach her before, which was that she should see the things from the perspective of people. And with that action that Boo did, she realized that he wasn't a superstition, a ghost that they thought before, but he was a real person.
Okay, now we're going to talk about a little bit about the symbolism we could identify in this book. The first one are mockingbirds. Mockingbirds only bring joy to people, as is stated in the book, so that's why it is a sin to kill them. Mockingbirds represent, in this sense, innocence, specifically the innocence of Boo Radley and Tom Robinson. Even though Boo Radley is not completely innocent because he stabbed Mr. Evil, hadn't he done this, Scout would be dead. So his innocence lies in this fact that he was protecting another one. So arresting him would prove no good for anyone. On the contrary, Tom Robinson, even though he's also innocent, he's found guilty because of his skin color, even though his lawyer presented strong evidence in his favor. He ultimately got shot and died. so his death proved no good nor bad for anyone as well. Secondly, we have the Bradley's place. This place represented fear among black people because they thought that only by walking near the house it would prove death to them. And it also represents mystery because children believed in these fairy tales surrounding this house, that it was a haunted house and that Boo was a ghost or a monster only because he never showed up.
The Radley place can also represent understanding. After Boo saved Scout and Jem, Scout could finally comprehend what her father had taught her, that you never really understand a person until you climb into his skin and walk around it. Scout could finally understand Boo's perspective and that he wasn't a monster after all. He only decided to remain hidden, and she could understand that he only went out when he was needed. Another important symbol in the book is the mad dog. This dog was infected with rabies, a disease that can be easily spread around, just as racism was dispersing like a contagion all over Macomb citizens. In such situation, Atticus Finch, was the only one able to shoot this dog, as well as attempting to bring down racism. In other words, this dog represents everything Atticus has to fight against, like racism and prejudice, and he's the only one capable and morally able to do so.
And now we are going to explore some themes of the book. We choose some quotes. Mockingbirds don't do one thing but make music for us to enjoy, but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Well, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Boo Radley. Arthur Radley, actually. And, well, I'm going to talk about innocence. Innocence can be seen throughout the whole book. Firstly, the title of the book, To Kill a Mockingbird, can be understood as to destroy innocence itself. Well, then we have our characters, such as Tom, who is innocent, but nevertheless he is convicted and afterwards killed. Secondly, we have Scout, who is the only character that remains convinced that in the goodness of people, and that can be seen through her innocence. Thirdly, we have the loss of innocence. That's in case of Jem. Since he was in the trial, he realized that people are bad and not as nice as he thought they were. And finally, there's me, Boo Radley, a true mockingbird. That my only sin was to want to protect the people I care about, such as Scout and Jem, but I hadn't been out in years, and I suffered at the hands of my family and their religious beliefs.
Okay. John Robinson. And during my trial, the Reverend told Jem that he hasn't ever seen any jury decide in favor of a colored man over a white man. Macomb is impregnated with racism. We suffer from it all the time. We are even at the bottom of the local social strata, even below the poorest white people. These racism ideas are so deep within this town that we are afraid to talk to white people sometimes, although it's difficult to maintain this distance, to keep it that way. And these old-fashioned ideas can be seen in my trial, where I was found guilty for something I didn't do because of my skin color. And my lawyer, who was defending me, he was stigmatized as a nigger lover only by doing this, because he talked to me and defended me. we believe that there is no hope for us. Or maybe there is. Jem and Scoutfinch, these kids, they seem to sympathize not only with me, but with all the black people in the county. And they are the future. They don't see us any different from them. So why would they? It's just such a shame that I don't get to see this future.
Hi, my name is Jem Finch, and as I realized during my life, there are 4 kinds of folk in the world. The ordinary kind, like us and the neighbors, the Cunningham out in the woods, the Eels up at the dam, down at the dam, and the Negroes. As I realized in my life, we have these four categories of people in our town, which are the people for the upper class, which is like my family, who are white collar workers. Then we have the Cunningham-like people, who are farmers mainly. Then we have the Ewells, who doesn't work at all. Actually, the difference between the Cunningham and the Ewells is not financial, because both families don't have much money. But the Cunninghams give the little they have in order to get things like their crops, but the Ewells just live from with a welfare. And then we have the Negroes, that even though there are different classes in the Negroes, Negroes are Negroes. They are worth less than white people. And white people, even the worst of the white people, that the white person that could be, is better than a Negro. And that was shown during the trial of Tom Robinson, where Ewell accused him to have raped her daughter, but it was clear that he wasn't. But even though that he wasn't respected, and the truth didn't come out, but actually came out, but he wasn't believed and he wasn't respected. So these different distinctions bring negative consequences to our town, and it was portrayed clearly, as I told you, during the trial of Tom Robinson.
Hi, I'm Scout Finch, and I think that women are not treated as they should be, because, for example, I was not sure, but Jen once told me that I was being a girl, that girls always imagine things, that's why other people hated themselves. And if I started behaving like one, I could just go off and find some to play with. So I don't like being a girl. I don't like it. I like being a tomboy and wearing pants and speaking not politely, because being a girl, being a woman in that time meant that I had to speak in a certain way, dress in a certain way. I hate dresses. I had to behave in a really polite manner, and if I wanted to say something, no one cared about my opinion. So, and this I can say a lot of examples in the book. For example, when Cecil Jacobs told me that my father was an eagle lover, I punched him in the face. And a lady should have kept her to herself and walk away. But I didn't. I punched him. I wanted to punch him because he offended my father. Also, during the trial, the judge said that that everyone should leave, except for the jury, of course, and at least women and children. This for me meant that women at the time didn't have the right to speak their minds or have an opinion, and they waited nothing. In a case that I have to be A, B, or C in order to being a woman, and I just want to be a kid and get dirty. And I get dirty.
One day, Scout asked me why I was defending a Negro. I replied that was for a number of reasons, but the main one was, if I didn't, I couldn't hold up my head in town. I couldn't represent this county in the legislature. I couldn't even tell my children not to do something again. My name is Atticus Finch, and I represent morality within this story. That is to say, that we don't have to judge others before judging ourselves first. that we have to keep our ideals until the very end, even if that means to defend a Negro. Because we all know it was in vain to defend a colored man in a trial, a man who was even accused of raping a white woman. But if I hadn't defended him the way I did, how could I call myself a righteous man or a righteous lawyer? So this brings us to the end of our presentation. If you have any question, feel free to ask. But before, I want to guarantee that no mockingbird was harmed during this presentation, at least literally. Thank you.